Welcome everyone to the morning buzz.
You didn't get your countdown.
Oh, welcome everyone to the morning buzz. Episode 2, Midterm edition. You got two guests and one special guest, Mr. Shaw.
Oh, a special guest.
A special guest.
You boys are here every day. You guys just
You,
guests.
you could still introduce us.
Right.
We got Mr. Gentera, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Hathaway.
And you are?
I'm Rufino Driscoll, your interviewer today, and I'll be asking them questions, just a different variety of things not really sports related. Although, I will start off right off the top with, what are your Super Bowl predictions? Because I got to know. Got Chiefs 49ers.
Are you looking at me first?
I'm looking at you first.
On the spot?
I got two answers. It's a double answer. Like I'd like to see the 49ers win because we got the connection with Jimmy, right?
Right. Be his third ring.
Right. But I think the Chiefs are going to beat them.
Really? Mr. Hathaway?
I get Chiefs by 10.
Chiefs by 10.
Legitimately, until you said who was in the Super Bowl, I had no idea who was in the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to go with the Chiefs because these guys watch the football. So I'm going to trust that they have a way better understanding of what is going on than I do.
I would say Mr. Hathaway watches the football. I have more of a sideline, like catch it tangentially on.
Right. Yeah, it's not even on in the background at my house. It's not that I don't appreciate it. We just don't watch it.
I got the 49ers, but
Right.
I'm 3 out of 4. I'm 1 out of 4 here. So.
If you were to ask what's your favorite Paw Patrol, that's more along the lines of what's rolling in my house.
All right, so some of our questions, will consist of homecoming and winter carnival. And since football is a fall thing, and so is homecoming, we wanted to ask, what you thought of homecoming this year. I guess we'll start with Gentera. What did you think of homecoming this year?
I thought homecoming ran really well. It was a fun event. It was nice to have buzz media at things. There seemed to be. I can't remember what the weather was, but I feel like it was a good day. It was a nice day.
Rainy early on, I think.
Right. But a lot of people seemed to come out. Football games seemed well attended. It was a really good time. The events leading up to it, the hallways looked really good from all classes. It was a fun week.
Shaw?
Yeah, I would agree. The early morning rain kind of kept crowds down a little bit for some of the morning events, but things I don't know if it truly cleared off probably until the football game, but we had a lot of people around for the soccer games, and I think things went as smoothly as they could with the wet weather in the morning, and obviously the week leading up, everybody was all abuzz with homecoming around the building.
Yeah, I was at the field hockey game in the morning. They had a pretty good win. Can't remember who the opponent was, but I think it was Erskine. And then also caught the girls' soccer game that day with the big upset victory over Maranacook. Was a great game, and the boys lost to Maranacook. I didn't see as much of that game, but I think they played them pretty tough.
They did.
And Maranacook is typically really in both boys and girls right up at the top there. And then obviously football capping it off, snapping the Wells 33-game win streak. With a pretty good performance. I had a couple guys get hurt in that game. A couple of the guys stepped in and played pretty well, and it was just a good day. Always good the week of homecoming to see the school spirit all over the building, and kids just getting excited about things, and faculty getting excited about things. So was pretty good. I'll ask you guys a sidebar question for each of you since you're alumni and you've been here a while. Favorite homecoming moment ever?
Oh my. Favorite homecoming moment ever. It's kind of a love-hate favorite homecoming moment ever.
I hope you're going with the one that I'm going to go with. Go ahead. What is it?
It's not my favorite homecoming moment ever. It's probably the most memorable homecoming moment ever, and that's when we had the purple Teletubby show up
Awesome.
at halftime.
That's exactly what I was
of the
thinking.
football game, or at the end of halftime of the football game.
Purple Teletubby?
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
long
ran
story.
out on the field.
That has to be number one.
Him hopping the fence.
ran down on the baseball field.
There's an extensive story that I won't get into here today, but it was quite a scene.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Was my brother around with the purple Teletubby? Like, did the green?
He was like green.
He was after.
Right.
He was post Teletubby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was green jumpsuit guy.
Green jumpsuit
right.
guy.
Green
Yeah.
jumpsuit.
Right.
Oh no, that's some spirit.
That was also a scene.
All right. Anyway, I'm glad you brought
It
that one up.
was.
Fino, you go to your next question.
So we're into traditions of Love It. Another one is Winter Carnival. So this is a question more for Mr. Shaw.
Okay.
With airband, have you ever been in an airband? And if so, what is your favorite moment?
Oh, I have been in a couple of air bands. Staff puts one on, not every year, but probably once every 2 or 3 years we put on an air band. And it's always interesting to see what our topic is going to be. But I think my favorite air band experience was many years ago now. Our theme was Disney related, and we had the Seven Dwarfs, and I was Pinocchio, and there was a whole it was just well choreographed and well put together.
All right. Do you see any changes coming to Winter Carnival in the near future?
I think the biggest change you'll see around Winter Carnival is having Buzz Media there and being able to get around with their wireless equipment and check in on more of the events. It's been an interesting evolution of Winter Carnival being aired first on Channel 11. Which was new probably in the 2003 era. Getting that out live, which we had never done before, with one camera and a couple of microphones over on the corner of the gym, and
a lot of wires.
And a lot of wires.
Wires.
And now to come here and be able to do it live with seriously upgraded equipment, it's been fun to watch.
Were you in an air band as a student?
I was in an air band as a student.
Because I know
yes.
when I was here, that the air bands hadn't come up yet. I think it might have been your senior year when they first.
Yep, my senior year we did air band. It was called Class Skit at the time.
Class Skit.
That was kind of a misnomer because the acoustics in the gym, there was no way to do any like lyrics or anything. So they had to use music. And my senior year, we did Little Mermaid.
There you go. And your role was?
The crab, baby.
The crab.
Sebastian the Crab.
Nice.
That was classic. I don't think you'll see a lot of film on that one.
You hope not.
But, yeah, that was...
Mr. Shintaro, what about you?
I was in I've been in a couple staff air bands, but the most of my air band career was as a student. I was typically the bad guy.
The bad.
Oh, I was Jafar. I think I was typecasted. The black hoodies. Black hoodies is kind of a signature thing. So I think the dark set me up for those roles. Yeah, but I was Jafar. The most memorable air band for me was my freshman year air band,
I was going to bring this up.
where they rung me into it because we didn't have one going in. Like now, I think it feels like people prepare for their air band for months. They have like several different air bands depending on what the theme may be. But we didn't have an air band going in the day of. We didn't actually have an air band 15 minutes before. So they wrangled a couple of brave souls, myself included, into this air band competition, and we legitimately thought it was an air band with air instruments, not this like full-on Broadway performance. So we went out and we pretended to play a song. Like
it was the Monkees, baby.
It was the Monkees, yeah. And we played almost the entire song because it was like supposed to be long. So we did that. There was a little bit of positivity, a lot more confusion.
Were you on the drums?
No, I think I was the lead.
The lead, okay.
And I was supposed to be like passionately chasing after Madison McLean.
Yep.
Which was fun. I mean that was. But then within like 5 minutes later, the sophomores come on, and we realized we did it wrong. We did it very wrong, and there was a lot more to it. But after that year, we had Vincent Ratzavong really take the wheel And we had
yeah.
he's like a professional
Yes.
choreographer
He's
now.
like an all-time airband choreography,
Right.
like Hall of Fame guy.
We really took a lump that year, but I think we won airband every subsequent year
Oh,
yeah.
following. We had a lot of talent in the performing arts areas, especially with Vincent leading the show. So we never made the mistake again. We were we were redeemed.
Well, I think that speaks to that was the time in which we were transitioning to actually having video of these like there was nothing for you guys to refer back to
Right.
on like, oh, this is what an airband is.
Right.
Right.
Now anybody and their brother can pull up an airband, and so any freshman group coming in can look at it and be like, oh, we're not pretending to play instruments.
Right.
And lip sync to the monkeys. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Right. I can tell you that 7 years later, when my brother came through the same way, their productions were at a significantely higher level than our starting productions because of the.
He had a Hall of Fame
I think, yeah,
performance.
one of the all-time best performances ever is him as Freddie Mercury.
Absolutely.
I know.
That's right in the pantheon of, like, you know, you got Kerrigan Davis as Beyonce, you got Keegan Melanson as Michael Jackson, you got your brother as Freddie Mercury. Like, those are some of the greatest ones ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was
And Kyle Stockwell as Drake.
Yes.
That also is one of my favorite
Do
ones
not
ever.
forget that one.
That one was awesome.
It really is up there. It really is up
Chris
there.
Gray as Axl Rose. That one was pretty decent as well.
That was mostly for the outtakes.
It may not surprise you, but the Gentera brothers are relatively competitive. And we were sitting around watching my brother's airband performance, and when Freddie Mercury dies in it, my mom started to cry, and I think I flipped a chair over and stormed out of the room.
You did Aladdin your senior year, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jafar, yeah.
What about some of the? Do you have a follow-up question for Winter Carnival?
Not really.
Not really. All right. What about just some of the other events? Like, what are some of your other favorite events, favorite memories? You know, we got Winter Carnival coming up, so it'd be good to discuss.
My favorite is one of my favorite to watch is the Jello eating contest.
No.
I love the Jello eating contest. I was a Jello eating champ at the time, and it's a tricky thing because you feel like the Jello is going to be pretty safe, but you do have to vacuum it down. Like there's no chewing in the Jello eating
If
contest.
you chew, you're going to lose.
Yeah, you can't process that Jello. You just have to like take it down, and if you take something down quick, like it may come back up. But you got to be a champ, and you got to take it back down. Like that's it can't leave the mouth. That's the secret. Grape Jello is the way to go. So if you get your choice of table, that's the one.
That's the one.
But yeah, Jello eating top notch. Dogs. That's a new.
That's a new one.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
We have some new games. We have a new game coming this year in part of Dogs, where we found that I can't accurately tell the height of celebrities. Like it's impossible for me. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was like 5'5" and he's 6 feet tall. I thought he was incredibly shorter than he was. I thought he was significantly shorter. So that'll be the game. You're going to have to determine how tall I think celebrities are.
Oh,
Kevin
wow.
Hart?
What?
How tall is Kevin Hart?
Okay, so I know like Kevin Hart is like famously short, but here's the reality. I thought Hugh Jackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Kevin Hart were all about the same height, and Hugh Jackman's 6'2".
Yeah, he's tall.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not think that.
Oh, good. We also have done the cook-off the last couple of years up in the food science room, so that's been a good one too. Had a lot of fun judging that one.
Is that the omelet?
It's just breakfast now. It's gone to who can create the best breakfast. So yeah, it's a great way to start the day. Always a fan of the limbo. And it always makes me think of Kate Obie, the four-time limbo
Four-time
champion,
Yep.
who had a sweet cape her senior year with
Yes.
four-time champ on the back, like already calling everybody out, like, I'm going to win this. And I love the relays. Relays are all, everybody gets going, everybody's in the gym. It's always
I do like the
pretty
gym
good.
events. The other events that are out around the building, I think, do a great job. The scavenger hunt's always fun. It gets a lot of people involved, and they're out and about. My favorite, well, we can think back to when we were in school. A couple of things. We used to play handball,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
classic handball. And,
Brutal.
like the picture I have in my mind is like Chris Angelo jacking somebody out of
Yeah,
the.
it was me.
Oh, it was you.
Right through
Okay.
the lobby
Okay.
doors.
Through the lobby doors.
Yeah. We also used to play 5-on-5 basketball in front of the whole school,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
was
we used to do
a
that.
little crazy.
And in addition to Jello eating, we had pudding eating.
Oh.
And a legitimate strategy for some of the girls in the pudding eating was to get as much in their hair as they could so they didn't have to eat it all.
Oh man.
So
you
it
go.
was it was quite a mess.
Also used to have the snow sculpture one.
Snow sculpture was huge.
which
That was a big deal.
Used to
Yep.
make a snow sculpture outside. So
That's probably my
interesting.
earliest Winter Carnival memory as a kid, coming into basketball games through the old main entrance
Yep.
and having snow sculptures on both
on
sides.
both sides. Yep.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I think I got frostbite one year
Oh, probably.
from a snow
Frostbite.
sculpture. Yeah, you can't go boat shoes, no socks,
No.
and build a snow sculpture.
no,
doesn't
no.
doesn't work. Even though
That's
that was the look in the early '90s. You
Absolutely
can't,
was,
you
yeah.
can't do
That
it.
is classical look. All right. Other past things and stuff. Drama in the recent performances with Little Woman. What are you guys' thoughts on Mr. Shaw?
It was great. I went to see the Saturday matinee, and the kids killed it. They did a great job. The singing was outstanding. It was a good choice. To be honest, I was kind of gave them the old one eyebrow when they talked about doing Little Women, but it was great.
Who was some of the? Give us some of the names. Who was some of the cast of characters there?
Oh my goodness, you're gonna put me on.
Put
the
you on the spot.
Yep.
Who's that new? She's new. I think she's a freshman. She has an older sister, but I think they're new
Yes,
to our.
I think it's Maria Gruber,
Yes.
right? I think Maria it's Maria that was this singing in Little Women. Outstanding job, and she was pretty much on stage from start to finish. But all the characters did a great job.
And Miss Mishu is our kind of newish producer of these. She's been on it for about what 2-3 years now.
She'll be doing one acts, but we had Ashley. I'm trying to think of her last name. Music teacher down at the middle school.
Down at the middle school. Yeah.
She was the director, and had a music director, Mr. Karen. He doesn't work in the district, but is a great music guy who is a director of the music. And they had elaborate sets that they worked to put together. They do a great job down there in the auditorium, and I wish when I was in school we had an auditorium like that. I mean,
Yeah.
we had the old cafeteria.
Cafeteria stage, right?
That was, you couldn't, if you were 6 rows back, you couldn't hear what was going on.
No.
So it was, that's just a great facility.
Yeah.
Right, going to a lot of schools, different schools in the state. There's not many that have that auditorium set up like we do. Like,
No, anything that's, I would say built probably prior, most schools built prior to probably 2000 or mid-90s don't have the auditorium. We were
Right.
fortunate to get one of those in our project, and I think we take full advantage of it with our
Yeah.
music and band performances. And Miss Dow had band performance down there a couple weeks ago, and I didn't get in for the evening, but I was here for rehearsals, and they do a great job.
I think that segues into your
Yeah.
next question, right?
Guitar night. What do you think about that?
Oh, Guitar Night, the one that was just a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
I think those are awesome.
I didn't get to go to it. However, I did. I heard some really good highlights from Mr. Davis. So I'll kind of relay those. Everyone did an awesome job. That was kind of number one. And it was what's kind of cool. It was like a surprising awesome job. Like sometimes teachers always say like it was like an awesome job because what else are we gonna say?
Yeah.
But it was like he was floored by how good it was.
It wasn't a lot of like your typical, like people who do a lot of music, right?
Right. One of the big standouts of the night was Chloe Bellegarde
Yeah, with her singing.
with her singing. Who that I've talked to you a number of times. That was her first like live performance. Like she was a shower singer for I think her whole career, but she signed up for the guitar classes like just to stretch herself as something to do to get an elective, and then when she sang, Mrs. Dow. I think her jaw dropped, the world's jaw dropped, and Chloe's.
And she went with Jolene, right?
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
not an easy song to.
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sing,
that's
right? I
if,
mean,
if I'm going
Zach
to break
Dolly
out with
Parton
like
there,
the
right?
song, that's not the one I'm going to
Yeah,
break out
probably
with.
not.
Yeah, she did Jolene and the Lady Gaga song. So
Yep.
those are
Oh,
two
the Shallow,
like,
right?
big, deep power vocals.
Right.
And going to be singing the national anthem at all the home basketball games moving forward this
Ooh.
season, I think.
Hey.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
We'll have it on Friday.
Yep.
We'll have it on Friday in the
Friday.
production.
I think the guitar night, the spring when they do the arts gala and they'll do the one act play, like those are great opportunities for people to get in and see that side of what goes on here at school, and I always encourage kids if they have the opportunity to squeeze some of those classes in to their schedule, they'll be pleasantly surprised
Right.
at how
Yeah.
cool they are.
And people in the community come watch those things because that's one thing we can't do on Buzz Media is show some of those because of the copyright issues
Right.
with the music and the productions of the different plays and such. So
Copyright. Killing me.
copyright, yeah.
So with Art Scout coming up, 20th year,
Yeah, 20th anniversary, yeah.
Wow.
any changes, with the new Art Scout leader in Miss Damon?
No, I think the biggest, I don't even want to call it a change. It'd be more of an expansion to celebrate the 20th season. Trying to get more artists in for more of the week, and trying to get into hopefully we got some this might segue into one of your questions. Hopefully we got some things in the work to get the artists in on the Arts Gala night. So actually do how we do the performance during the day. Try to do that performance at night so we can get people from the community to come in and see this is
awesome.
the culminating event of all week. Because historically they don't come for the night. The artists don't come for the night, and it's just kids are here to show off some of their works of art, or one act will do their show, or we'll get some band performances. So that would be great if we can do that.
You'll get some of the students involved when the artists come back?
Yeah,
for the night
I think that's the plan.
that's nice.
It's always a good week. That the whole atmosphere, and we get to bring our classes down and visit with some different artists. I know I usually bring the physics kids down to juggle, but it's not just juggling when you get down. It's more like improv, and we throw some juggling in there. So that's a fun event, and there's just a lot of good things going on that week.
It's a really cool week to see something new.
Yeah.
Like if we're all in our bubbles at times, and I mean you can get really stretched. Like some of that dancing, if I had to do it, it would make me super uncomfortable. So,
Right.
but the artists are really great at making you feel like welcome and safe, and it's always a really fun time.
Speaking of dancing, before you go there, we do have dancing with the staff is going to go this year as well, right?
Yes.
Correct. So we're going to have that. So I throw that in there maybe because I might have won last year.
Oh, in case a little mini trophy on his desk didn't give
Right.
it away.
I think I'm in retirement. I think I want to retire on a win. Like a John Elway type walk-off deal. But anyway, go back to what you're going to say.
I don't even remember now.
Right.
Will any of you be participating besides Mr. Hathaway, who's in retirement?
Historically, I'm the MC for
you are.
for the Dancing with the Staff last year. Last year I think I had a board meeting and I was unable to go. I don't remember. Maybe it rescheduled and I can't remember. But
I don't remember
typically
either.
that's my role. I love doing that, and it's a fun event. Raises money for a good cause. Typically get a pretty good crowd to come out for it, and
Money goes towards NHS, right?
NHS and their work with some community organizations. So it's just it's a fun evening to come out and see. It really I think to me, in addition to homecoming and winter carnival, Dancing with the Staff I think highlights the connections that adults and kids have in the building. And I mean, it takes a lot for a group of kids to have 2 or 3 teachers with them up on the stage and choreographing a dance and doing a routine. And there's a level of trust there that I think is pretty amazing.
Are you in this year?
I am not. No.
Calling you out right live.
I knew this was gonna. I knew that. I was really actually distressed about the fact that Dancing with the Staff got brought up. I'm bowing out of dancing this year.
Judging?
I'm sure at some point I'm going to get wrapped into something somehow, whether it's helping on the back end or up in the front or something. I'm sure I'll be there to help out.
Davis is in this year, though, right? Is that what?
Wow,
He's
what?
been saying. He
That
said
could
last
be
year.
breaking news.
He said last year. I'm going to break it right here on the Morning Buzz. Davis
Live.
said outright, and I hope he's watching or he sees this later.
Breaking
he's gonna
news,
He
watch.
said
guys.
last year that he's in.
He's in.
Like we told him, enough's enough. You're always
It's time.
behind the scenes. It's time for you to get in this. It's your turn.
So if he steps up, there's going to have to be someone behind the scenes, and I would happily take that role to
There
see
you go.
Mr. Davis up on that stage. I can help produce that show.
And Davis, if you're watching, I don't think you can do it. So there you go.
Oh yeah, I
come on.
totally.
Like-
I
Yeah,
know
he's in now.
I know he's not going to do it.
That just locks it in. So I don't know who his partner's going to be, but he's in.
That's awesome.
Speaking of performances, it's kind of random, but what are you guys' 3 favorite movies? Productions, top
Like
3?
ever?
Ever.
Oh my gosh.
Throw them out there. Hot takes. Movies.
I'll go first.
All right.
Pulp Fiction, Tombstone,
Oh,
and then
can't
if
get
I'm
into Pulp
going
Fiction.
if I'm going comedy, I think I got to go old school.
Oh, that's a good one. So I gotta disagree with Mr. I can't get into Pulp Fiction. I tried. I've watched it a couple times. I'm thinking to myself every time I watch it, why does Hathaway think this is so great?
It's a dark movie.
I can't figure it out. So I can't get into Pulp Fiction. Tombstone is an amazing movie. Love it. I also am a huge fan of not the fourth one. The first 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
like those.
Yeah.
The fourth one, that's out there.
Right.
The nuclear fridge shield that didn't do it for you.
The crystal skull things.
Yeah.
No, not a great one. And as far as comedy goes, or it's probably in the comedy / sports movie category, I love Major League.
Major League. Oh, what a
I love
great
Major
movie.
League.
Mr. Montero?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna choose some series because I'm big into the. It's hard to like link one, so I'm big into Star Wars. Really like the Star Wars films.
The new ones are not Star Wars.
They are Star Wars. They have the
No,
sticker on them.
no,
Like
no,
they're
no.
definitely you go in space and there's war. I don't know what more you want from it. The Marvel, the superhero films. I'm
Yeah.
big into the superhero movies. If I had to pick one of those, it's probably Guardians of the Galaxy. I really love the Guardians of the Galaxy music.
Yeah.
So that one's a frequent go-to, and then Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump's a good one.
I'm a big Forrest Gump fan.
Yeah.
The soundtrack in a movie makes a big difference for me, and Forrest Gump has probably one of the best soundtracks of all time. And it's an incredible movie. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors.
I'm also anxious for the new Top Gun.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'll have to see
You know,
it.
like
yeah.
I don't know. It could be a bust. Who knows?
It could be a bust, but we're gonna have to watch it.
It really depends on the soundtrack. The original soundtrack was also
That when you said that, it reminded me
up
that the
there.
original soundtrack was good, and him explaining how he was inverted.
Yeah.
Off the other
Correct.
plane is
Yeah.
one of the best movie scenes ever, right?
So kind of a more of a like a current event type of thing. I thought of that the other day. I don't know if you saw it on the news, but there was a close encounter between a couple of ships, a Russian ship and an American ship. I think it was in the Red Sea or something last week. They came within like 100 meters of each other.
No kidding.
So I was wondering to myself if they were communicating as they were passing by. But
I bet they were.
yeah, that was a good movie.
So, coming up, well, not coming up, but currently, with the new phone rule, what are you guys'
Oh,
thoughts? Do you think
man.
it's effective? Do you think it's working? And any big changes like that for the future?
You want me to go? You're staring at me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do think I think we need to probably revisit it a little bit because it's been a semester now, right? Kind of remind some people of where we are with it. Ultimately, and I think you guys can please chime in if at any time, but I think ultimately the intent is to help seriously to help students and everybody, adults included, to be able to focus on school when we're at school. And but at the same time, recognizing that these things that we all have in our pockets are part of life now, and we can't ignore them. So to put them in a box outside the front door when you come in doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But there are times during the day, whether you're a student or whether you're an employee at a business outside of school, like when you guys leave high school, that it makes sense to not have access immediately to that. And the hard part, I think, is we're kind of working against the tide in the sense that the expectation becomes, and it happened to me this morning, my phone buzzed, and you would have thought my house was on fire because someone comes running to me with my phone, your phone's buzzing. Like, I don't care. They can wait 5 minutes, right? But the expectation has almost become with everybody, not just in schools, but just across the board, that if you get a message on your phone that why aren't you responding to it? And I feel myself doing the same thing. Like if I shoot a text to my wife and she doesn't get back to me within a few minutes, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, why isn't she texting me back? And that's not.
Was she out of catnip supplies today? Is that what the text was?
No, it wasn't from her. No, she's all set with that. She was busy yesterday though, but
There you go.
no, she's all set with supplies.
Mr. Hathaway, how do you think it's?
I think it's probably our job in education to teach people how to operate in in different types of settings, whether it's a work setting, a social setting, an educational setting, or whatever. And I think probably as a society, maybe we're a little too dependent on those things, and they're factoring into our lives more than they should. So, I'm the same. I have a lot of different roles throughout the day, and that require a lot of communication. So, I probably am on it more than I wish I was, to be honest. So, it's nice to to have some regulation myself, and to try to help kids navigate that too.
Right, I would agree with it. I think I think having the rule is a nice break from the grind. I think when we have the phone, I find it at home even, like the grind of the day kind of continues on. It's almost like a 24/7, because I'm always like Mr. Hathaway. I have a lot of different hats, and and communication's a big part of that, and it's really hard to escape it. Like, it's really hard to escape that communication and take the breather. And to realize that not everything needs to be addressed right now.
Yeah, we went on a cruise last spring to Bermuda, and when you get to a certain point, you can't use your phone anymore unless you pay this outrageous amount of money. And so I just put my phone in a drawer for an entire week. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I think,
great.
I mean, guys, you weigh in on this one, but we had a pretty extensive conversation about this summer,
Right.
about how we wanted to proceed with the cell phones, and it was hard. I mean, I think you'd appreciate this, Rufino. I mean, it's not something anybody wants to jump in without thinking about it, and because I mean, we're here to do school, and Mr. Hathaway and Mr. Genturo, they want to teach their subjects. They don't want to be the phone cops, right? But if there's something getting in the way of being able to do that, then we have to do something.
Personally, I think it's not really a big issue. I like it. I think I don't know if it's effective, because I don't really, I'm not analytical like that. But for me personally, I find myself spending a little bit too much time on my phone.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the break that I don't get most often.
All right.
With current things, midterms, and just how it's changed from last year,
Right.
having the way it was last year with classes in between, to now going back to the half day kind of deal. How is that going to continue to change, and how do you think it's working? Do you think it's...
I kind of, in my opinion, and this is just my one man's opinion sitting here on the Morning Buzz, I think we've probably put this thing to bed. Like, I think this is the way it's going to be. We tried something different last year, trying to accommodate a couple of different things. It wasn't super successful, and as a result, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. I don't think it hit what we wanted to do, and so we had to go back to the old schedule. You will notice that we did get HPT in on the full days, which I think is a good check-in. But I think, for the most part, I think we're going to probably stick with this schedule, and it's I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing the schedule this way. I know when I was a student here, and
we've gone back to what it used to be, right?
Right.
Except for last year.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a long time. I've been at Levitt in different roles for a long time now. I mean, this is a long time running. I think it was a blip to see if it would be better, and it wasn't. So
yeah, but I think it's a good example of being willing to try something, and if
Absolutely.
it works, great. If not, then you fix it.
Absolutely. That's one of the best things I can say about working here and being a student here. When new ideas come to the table, whether it's brought by the students or by faculty or by administration, I really think part of the Levitt ecosystem is those new ideas are often hit with open ears. Like, no one, unless it's like buying a tank for the courtyard.
Right, like we did. Let's put the kibosh on that one right off. Like
Right.
So that phone call was Davis, of course, right? Like they're done the midterm, so they clicked on a little Morning Buzz.
Hey, a little shout out to Mr. Davis's class.
Right,
Shout out to
and
Mr. Davis.
and Davis, he tried to give me some line about how he can't do it because he's the NHS advisor.
He chooses not to run.
Right, Genturo is going to take care of everything. Davis, you're all set.
Right.
We've got all the responsibilities covered. Genturo and I will handle it. You are free to dance, my friend.
So he's trying to pull the Jerry Seinfeld. I
choose not to run.
I see.
Right.
Yeah. There you go, Mr. Davis.
he doesn't like being trash talked when he can't be here. He's trying to trash talk me on the phone.
No.
Like, he can't handle it. It's great.
Right. No.
We-
Send
this is not
Sawyer down.
This is not a call-in show, Mr. Davis.
We're on there now with Mr. Davis. So with other current things, cheering, Monday taking home the KVAC championship,
Big win.
big win, pretty impressive for them.
I will say because we practice at the same time as them, so they're in the small gym and we're in the big gym. And the last couple of weeks, they've asked us to come over a couple days and kind of watch the routine, so they have an audience. And they've been putting in some work.
They've
And
been working
I always want to call her Coach Landry because that was how I knew her
Yeah.
when we went to high school together. But Coach Kennaboris,
Yep.
Coach Andrea, she has done an excellent job with those girls. They've
Yep.
they've really been working hard. There's just you can tell when you walk into somebody's gym if there's a good vibe or not, around the team, and you can just kind of feel that when you go in there. And I talked to Marley Coburn a little bit the other night at the girls' game, and she said they kind of nailed everything. Like it wasn't
did.
their best performance, she said, but they really didn't. Everything went.
They held all
didn't
their
mess
stunts.
anything up. So.
They did really good.
Right. There was no point deductions, is what I was reading
Yeah,
in the
none.
newspaper.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep, and they think there's a few things they could maybe do a little bit better and hopefully bring home regionals.
I think they got a good chance at that. I was up there, and I didn't see the first couple of teams go on, but I saw the majority of the teams, and I think they got it right. Like we were really good, and I look forward to see how well they do coming up. I like to think I take a little credit for it because the seniors
right.
are two of the seniors that I coached when I had to fill in for cheering when they were freshmen. That's totally a joke because I didn't do anything. They are totally on their own, but
You were pretty into it, though.
I was really into it. I was really into it. In fact, when I went up there on Sunday, I had my cheering shirt on, Levitt cheering shirt. Got to support the team.
There you go.
There you go, Mr. Shaw. So with coverage and everything, what are your opinions on Buzz Media, Mr. Shaw, and our ability to cover so many things and wireless and it's like everything?
Well, I think I got into it a little bit earlier when we were talking about Winter Carnival. It's amazing to see how much you guys are able to do with just a cell phone at this point at a football game. Versus what we used to have. All this stuff used to be in a room, and you guys probably have been in there, but it was just full of equipment to pull off what you guys are trying to pull off with one little, I don't even know what you call that thing.
The sling.
The sling.
The sling
This
sitting
is the
there,
sling.
sitting there on the table, and it's so amazing how well it works and how professional it looks for something that. Really, we're so new at. So it's just been a great. I think it's been a great addition to a lot of events around the building.
Yeah, and I think we'll, we're always, trying to come up with ways to improve it. It's still kind of new to us. Big thanks to Randy Swift, who's kind of the Channel 11 godfather who got that going, and he helped us kind of transition over to this world. And we're trying to improve the equipment every year. A lot of support from the trustees.
Yeah.
So shout out to them big time. Wouldn't be able to do this without them for sure. We've got, I know there's more kids in the class next semester. So we'll get, some increased involvement, and hopefully it becomes a pretty regular thing and a good chance for students to kind of learn this field.
Right on. So I'm going to toss a question back at you guys. So is this like a YouTube channel that people subscribe to, or do they just go on and kind of search for it and they pick it up? But you can subscribe to it.
Right, I
I'm
think
seeing
you can
his
do
head
either.
nodding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you could. I mean, if you just wanted to watch a game, and if you're not a big YouTuber and you don't subscribe to anything, which I don't suggest you do, I suggest that you subscribe. You get a YouTube,
Like
you
and
get your
subscribe.
Google, Gmail, or whatever, the Google account going.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe, like all our videos on the Buzz Media channel. That's the best way, because then you get an update. So if you're like, hey, there's a basketball game on tonight, your phone will tell you, and then you can watch it. I can tell you the games that I'm not on. I'm typically watching at the house while cooking dinner. I got the phone up, or I got whatever device can run YouTube on. I know my kids watch pretty much all the games. It's a really good way for the community to get involved without leaving their house. Now, we definitely want the community out at games, but sometimes...
I was just going to say that
Right.
I don't want to have to get into blackout dates here. But, yeah, if you're able to come out, come on out. I don't want everybody staying home. It gets
Right.
boring in the gym if everybody stays home.
Right, absolutely. But I don't think we're gonna have a tough time getting the stands in there. But we're also it's nice to see how big the Levitt community is. Like
Yeah.
this football season, we had people watching from Guam,
Right.
I believe. Like
Go
there's
on.
a lot
Chris
of
Hill.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
There's a lot of Levitt alumni that just don't live local anymore. And I know my brother watches, and he's down in Portland, and Big Red, when he can't make it to the games, he watches and he comments. Like and that's the other thing. You can communicate with the Buzz Media, staff during game night to give us both technical tips if something's not going right, or just to kind of voice your opinion on how the game is going. Keep it like we want, just as a caveat, like keep it respectful if you do that. But and that hasn't really been an issue as of so far. Everyone
Last
has. We there was just one blip, and we've taken care of that. But it's a really cool experience. So if you haven't yet, get on it.
Speaking of civil, I didn't get to see the whole story, but it looks like the end of that Kansas basketball game last night
Oh,
didn't go well.
yeah.
Did you see that?
I have
That
not
was
seen
crazy.
that.
Did not go well.
Bench clearing fight. At
No
the end
kidding.
Of the
There was one at the end of
basketball
a Sacred Heart game a couple days ago too.
Yeah.
Really?
Some
And I
fans are
also
involved.
saw another one. It was a hockey game where the goalie was going through the line and he did the nice game, and then just nailed some guy in the face.
Ooh, that's never a good way to go.
Isn't good either. But no, I didn't see that.
Sorry, I got you off track.
The Kansas
Tina.
one was like serious.
Yeah,
That was crazy. So with other things, Mr. Hathaway mentioned the trustees. Mr. Shaw, can you tell us like how they're helping students and supporting
Oh, absolutely.
good things going around?
So let me give you a little blurb about the trustees first, and then I'll get into a lot of the stuff they do to help us out. So the Levitt Trustees are an organization that manages a fund that was an endowment that was left by James Madison Levitt when he first started Levitt Institute as a private school, and that fund has grown over time. I mean, if you watch. It grows with the stock market because it's an invested fund, but it also grows with gifts from families and from individuals over time. So it's a pretty significant fund, and I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how much it is, but it's a pretty significant fund, and they help us out every year. We make requests for projects that we'd like their help with, and they're always very generous with their support. Whether it's Buzz Media and needing some equipment, or I see on your list of questions up on the board the field trip to Salem. They funded that this fall. They're always very helpful with Arts Gala. It runs the gamut from field trips to one year they helped us. I say us as in the school district, split the costs on some new microscopes.
Yep.
They're always very open, willing to listen. They do have some parameters that they have to follow, and that's totally get that. And we try to come up with some good ideas. A couple years ago, they came back asking for some big ideas, and we came back with a couple. One of them being the Maple Sugar Shack, and that's going to be up and ready to go. So we're going to be boiling down some sap this spring and get our first batch of syrup out of there, I hope. Talking about the pancakes, yeah. That was a big project, and there's no way we could have pulled that off without their help.
We're going to talk a little bit about the SAT test and how they
that's
support
right.
that.
And the other one of the ideas that we came forward with was an idea to support students in their pursuit of doing well on the SAT and the MEA science test, and the trustees were on board with that, and so students who hit the benchmark scores on the math and English SAT as well as the science MEA, if they hit those three scores, then the trustees they have $300 that they can spend on whatever they're doing after high school. So that last year was the first year we put that in place, and to see the diverse list of things that we've reimbursed students for, it's been awesome. It runs the gamut from some students have gone out to purchase a new laptop because they needed one for school. Others have gone to buy equipment because they were going to a tech school for a vocation and they needed some tools.
That's awesome.
And we've sent checks directly. We sent several directly to the UMaine system for because the deposit, interestingly enough, the deposit to reserve your spot to go to UMaine is $300. So
There you
we,
go.
s-
Oh,
we
there you
send
go.
the
That's
checks
easy.
directly to them, and the students didn't have to worry about coming up with that in the spring. So, and I've done a little digging around. I don't think there's another school in the state that has that opportunity for their kids, and it's available to every one of our kids. So anybody who hits those scores is eligible for that $300 reimbursement.
That's awesome. You know, with all that going on, gotta just come up with questions off the top of my head.
I blew your mind, didn't I? Like
Yeah.
it's mind blowing.
So, any other cool projects that the trustees are, could you let us in on a little?
We don't have any secret ones
No
that we're
secret
working
projects?
on. No, I mean we've
Oh.
had some big ones over the last 10 years. I would say. I mean the electronic sign out front. That's totally
Yep.
the result of the Levitt trustees.
There's also been some things, some summer, I don't know if you want to call them summer projects or
The summer
summer
institute.
seminars, institutes,
Yep.
whatever
Yeah.
we've done with students going down to the History Museum and working, just on some enrichment type
That's exactly
educational
what it is.
opportunities, right?
This
So-
last summer, they worked on a project around the history of the towns and their association with the Androscoggin River, which resulted in them spending some time down the Riverlands State Park and working with some local experts on that, and some culminating projects around that. In fact, we've worked through that program with I think Mr. Davis was big in on it this summer in an attempt to get some students some credit, some elective credit for that summer work. So that's been a big project. That's been in I would say the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I was there on that one, and it was really cool. We got to work with kind of local biologists in some sampling in kind of science research on the river. We got to talk to we took a trip down to the
Gulf Island Dam.
Gulf Island Dam.
Yep.
We checked that out. I've lived here all my life, and I've never seen it. It was a really cool. It's a really cool experience. We talked to some local experts from Bates College, who've been studying the geology and the history of the Androscoggin River over time, and it is. As a resident of Green, Leeds, and Turner, and you lose your appreciation for the river because you're always driving by it.
Right.
And it is an incredible journey that just that body of water has taken in its own right, and just how much influence it's had over our communities. It's incredible. If we get the opportunity to do it again, I really suggest that kids sign up for
Sign
it.
up for
It's
it,
a really cool experience.
You also mentioned the Salem trip. You want to talk just a little bit more about that? Let
Yes,
people know what that was.
that was an idea that came out of a collaboration between the English department and the history department to take all freshmen to Salem, Massachusetts at the same time that they were studying the Crucible in English class and that early American history and history class. And that's the first time we've ever, to my knowledge, it's the first time we've ever done anything of that magnitude with an entire class. And they would put them on buses and send them to Salem, Massachusetts this fall. And it went really well. And I think it kind of brought together what can be abstract conversations about life in that time period, and particularly with those that time period and the witch trials, which relatively close to us. Like it's
Right.
not that far down there
Right.
to where this happened. So makes it a lot more real.
Right.
So with Mr. Gentera talking about that class, and him visiting that place, what are your guys' some of your favorite places to visit in the state of Maine? What are the sights
Ooh.
to see?
Well, every summer we go to Bailey Island, and I would say that's one of my favorite places. And I'm pining for a new job down there where I would like. They have this boat that comes in and drops people off at Cook's Lobster House, and then they kind of can walk around and tour the island. But they have a very short amount of time. So I think this year I'm bringing a van down there, and I'm gonna do like a Peterman reality tour type deal down there and bring people around the island. But
So you're going to be like the Uber tour of
Yes.
Bailey Island.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
but that's probably one of my favorite. I like to get out to the ocean a little bit.
So and I've known Mr. Hathaway for basically ever,
Right.
and he's absolutely right when he talks about going down to Bailey Island. They've been going down to Bailey Island for
Yeah.
probably since you were born.
Yep.
And so I know how much that particular spot means to him and his family. As much as he likes the ocean, I like the woods. So I have a my family has a camp up in northern Maine, up in on the north end of Moosehead Lake, and that's where I like to spend my time. It's up until recently, even the cell phones didn't work, but now there's a cell phone tower at the south end of the lake, so the cell phones now work. But that's one of my favorite places to visit.
Mr. Dara?
I got two. If I'm going to travel, if I'm going to drive somewhere, it's going to be that Bar Harbor area, the Acadia National Park. I'm a huge fan of Acadia National Park. When I was a kid, I got to spend a summer there because we had a family restaurant and my dad was working it for that summer. So I kind of got the ins and the outs. And when you get to know other kids and stuff on the island, you can really figure out like where the cool places are. But the other places, anywhere that I can be on a boat. I want to be on a boat in any body of water in Maine. The fishing that's what I do in the summer. I fish a lot, as much as I possibly can. So that typically puts me in the Nizinsket or the Androscoggin or Allen Pond or Hall's Pond, like Bear, all of them. I'll get in a boat and I will be fishing.
So fishing, I mean, all you guys are Mainers. Fishing is probably a big part of, it's just fun. Anybody got a favorite fishing spot or, favorite
Not for the morning buzz.
Whoa.
You're asking questions you're not going to get answers to, my friend. Yeah, I mean, fishing's been, I would say fishing and hunting have been a part of my life since I could walk. And one of my earliest fishing memories, and I think my father would probably be surprised to know that I remember this, but I don't know how old I was. I probably wasn't 3, and it was springtime, and one of the earliest, the fishing season had just opened, and we went down the street. There's a little bog down the road from my house where you could catch chubs and hornpout and stuff, and we went down, and I fell in. And I physically remember him grabbing me by the back of the neck and picking my head up out of the water and then walking me back to the car and throwing me in the back seat soaking wet and taking me home. So
I'm sure Paul was happy about it, too.
I'm sure I don't remember that piece of it, but I don't think my mom was particularly impressed either.
Mr. Hathaway?
I probably don't. I have never been much of a hunter necessarily. Other than the occasional bird or squirrel out back of Brady Gates' house in high school. But and I don't really fish as much now as I probably wish I could, but I did go a lot. My father's parents lived on Androscoggin Lake in the summers. They had a camp there, so my grandfather and I used to do a lot of bass fishing around there. We used to catch humongous pickerel.
Yep.
Like pictures of me when I was like 7 or 8 years old holding pickerel that are almost as tall as I am. So yeah, that was probably that. I've done a little bit of like ocean fishing over the last few years, and the last one was in Virginia Beach. We went with the Morans and the Cabrals and the Jordans, and the men went on a little bit of a fishing trip, and I managed to just throw up the entire time.
Oh, no.
That was my last fishing
Caught
experience in a while, right?
Going back, if I've hit my early memories, my grandparents have a house on Allen Pond, so I spent most of my summers on Allen Pond. I think I fished out of every craft from a paddle board to a paddle boat on Allen Pond. I remember that's what I could operate. They wouldn't let me have anything with a motor before it was probably 20. Very conservative around my safety. So I remember the paddle boat. I would take the paddle boat pretty much across the pond and then fish back for the entire day because that's pretty much how much time it would take to get from one end to the other in a paddle boat. And the bass fishing in Allen Pond is great. There used to be really good trout fishing, but they stopped stocking it. So it's a little more of a bass spot. Big plug for Upper Nizinsket if you want to get some fishing in. Get into the upper Nizinskit. There's a lot of pike in there. And if you can help us out by pulling some of those pike out of there, that would be great. There's enough in there to go around. So if you're looking for a spot around here, that's where I did a lot of my fishing this past summer. And the pike is a great game fish. It's really big. They're just invasive to our area, and it's going to desolate our trout population in that river if nothing happens.
I know when I was in high school, Mr. Rio's father, Dennis.
Oh yeah.
They had a place where they did a lot of trout fishing, but there were a lot of suckers in those places. So he asked Mr. Rio's two older brothers and I to go out and try to take care of the suckers. So I didn't really know what that meant. And I don't really know what that means all over, but to them it meant like this cachet of weapons that you would go out with. Like
Yes.
It was like walking into like a medieval dungeon to see the things that we were going to use to get these suckers.
Spear fishing for suckers is that's a classic
Right.
Maine experience.
What's the ball that has the nails coming out of it? Is that a
mace.
I think there was a mace. I don't even know if that's legal.
Spearing suckers is a legitimate springtime Maine activity.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of what I think the main term is old timers. If you want your tomatoes to grow, you go spear suckers in and chop them up, throw them in your hole, and that's the secret fertilizer.
Tomato
I guess.
fertilizer.
Tomato fertilizer.
Crazy.
There you go.
Well, talking about your guys' past experiences or memories, what are your top 3 favorite memories, I guess, of just being at this high school since you were all students here over your 4 years of just.
You're the youngest, so you have to go first.
Yeah, youngest goes
come
first.
on.
Youngest goes first.
I think looking back at it, at my high school experience here, the winter carnivals were, and I know that's kind of the easy one. Those were some of my favorite experiences. I really got to give it up to Mr. Shaw. The exploding pumpkin was one of the most memorable
There you go.
experiences. He blew up. I don't know if this was the first year or whatnot. I know there was a lot of pressure on getting you to blow up a pumpkin, but he had put a pumpkin in the trash can. I can't remember if it was liquid nitrogen or something, but it made a lot of smoke or mist, and he had done all the chemistry to make this pumpkin explode. It didn't happen, and you walked near.
I was so mad.
And he walked near the trash can, and all of a sudden, it went off. And I remember it was Max Havner, myself, Jordan Bell, and we all looked and were like, "Oh my God, we think he's dead. He's definitely deceased." And then you emerged from the smoke.
It was a classic
victorious.
movie. It was a classic movie moment. So Yes. So anyway,
I think some of the pieces of the trash can ended up in the back of Lepovsky's pickup truck.
No, that was the pumpkin. So Mr. Lepovsky was involved with me in helping me to get the pumpkin to blow up. Because surprisingly enough, it's not easy to do.
Right.
Right. And trying to, they're a tough gourd to crack.
That's fine.
And so trying to get it to work safely and do it legally,
right.
working around the chemistry of it and get it to work. It was difficult to do. We were able to pull it off, and it was fun. And then we were asked not to do it again. So we haven't done it since, and we won't do it again.
Was that a one and done?
No, it was a couple of years.
Twice. We did it
Right.
twice. And it was a great chemistry demonstration.
It really was.
But it's not one that we're able to pull off anymore.
No.
No more.
No, but it was okay. Oh, one more. And then I guess the last thing I'll say, one of the most memorable experiences, and I think this is probably true of a lot because I hear it at graduation quite a bit. It was really the people. I can't point to a particular moment, but I know, and this is going to date Mr. Davis a little bit, but I really enjoyed that APUS class. It was it was fun to learn. We learned a lot and we debated a lot. I think my class in particular we were famous for, at least by the end of every class period, someone was accused of being a fascist at some point. Which was, I think, a particular characteristic of our class. We were very competitive. but like the connections that I made here through both my peers and the faculty are really why I came back. That's exactly the reason why I'm working here. Would find it hard to work anywhere else.
We'll just go in order. How's that?
All right.
So it's going to be hard to pick out three favorite memories, I guess. But I have one. When I was in high school, I played soccer, I loved it. In fact, Mr. Hathaway's wife and I played on the same team.
Same team.
And so that was a great experience. But going to other events, whether it was football or field hockey or a girls' basketball game, whatever, but going to another activity and having a crowd of, much like our student section now, supporting the teams, whether it was a home game or an away game. And I think one thing that I notice when I go from school to school is we travel well, regardless of the season. We travel well, so I really like that. And when I was in high school, I think I did a little bit of everything, and having all those opportunities was great as well. And I guess I would go with the connections as well as Mr. Gentura and just being a supportive place to be. And I would say the same thing now as an adult. And now we're apparently running out of time because
I'll give you the quick one to end. I would echo what these guys would say about just different connections you make, friends that you have from high school, different events that you participated in or whatever. But you also meet some people that kind of change your life. And for me, that was Coach Kahn. It's not too often that you get like a second dad in your life. And he was definitely that for me. And, certainly this year working here, that state championship in football with, your own son on the team and kids of families that you've grown up with and been around forever to be able to do that was pretty awesome. So I'll go with that.
All right. Well, looks like we're wrapping up here.
That's the bell. We got to go.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Buzz.
Buzz, buzz,
End
sting.
of episode 2.
Thanks for having me,
Buzz,
guys.
buzz, hashtag buzz, buzz.